welcome back or welcome to my channel if this is your first time. This is my channel, Pixie Dust and Spirit Alchemy, where we talk about all sorts of things taboo, strange, occult, magical, mystical, stuff like that. It recently came to my attention and has been asked to me a few times, I guess, what the difference is between spells, spell work and rituals, and prayer. So I wanted to make a short video just discussing my beliefs of the difference between these two things, the differences and the similarities, what they have in common, and also what separates the two. So let's get started.
Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
Hindi starhaps mahaywas tang yahara kumaya. If it's ainung hara timaya yobai.
Arresto momentum!
Now first off, I want to just say that I asked this question in my little community channel section, and I had a few very good answers as to what the difference between the two is. And myself as a spiritual person and magician, I do spell work, obviously, but I also pray. And the prayer in my upbringing came first, just because of my religious background. And it's still something that I believe works. It was interesting because I asked this to a friend of mine recently, and her answer surprised me because it was something that I hadn't heard yet. And this is, my friend is a non-magical, a muggle, I guess, for lack of a better word, open to spiritual beliefs, but doesn't necessarily practice any. And when I asked her what she thought the difference between spells and prayers were, her first answer was that prayers more so have a positive connotation to them, whereas spells have more of a negative connotation. In her mind, when you use prayer, you're praying for someone. And with spell work, there's a connotation behind it where it's bad, and it's also sort of delivered by mainstream media because we know it as like casting a spell on someone, right? So I thought that was interesting. And ultimately, the effectiveness of both ultimately comes down to how much you believe in it, right? If I don't believe that a prayer is going to work, and even if I'm praying every day for something, then why would it work? The same with spells. If I'm casting a spell, whether it's to bring me money, to attract money, or to pray, or to heal someone, or whatever the spell may be, if I don't believe it's going to work, then it's not going to work. Another interesting point, as far as the differences between the two that I wanted to point out, was that in prayer, it almost puts the prayer, us, the human, in a position of being less than or lower than the deity or God that you're praying to. You're not praying to an equal, you're praying to someone higher up, or an entity that is higher than ourselves. Whereas in spell work, most of the time, if not all the time, the witch or the wizard or whoever is casting the spell, it's more of an equal playing field, right? In some of the comments that I had when I asked this question on my YouTube, it was pointed out that a spell is more of a demand, whereas a prayer is more like a request. So when I'm doing a spell, it's because I want to shift my reality. It is our responsibility, and we are using what means we can with the beliefs that we have in supernatural forces to change reality to match our will, our desires, and our intention. With prayer requires a lot of faith in order for it to work. Faith in whichever God that you're praying to, whichever higher power that you're praying to. And some people may say that no action is required to make a prayer work, but I disagree, and I don't know if they say that anyways, but in order to have this faith and for it to be carried out, there needs to be action taken on that part too, right? I don't know if you guys have ever heard the saying, faith without works is dead. But if I'm praying for good health, whether for myself, well, let's say for myself, and yet I continue to eat 10 donuts a day, I'm not really taking the right action in order to manifest this prayer's outcome that I want, right? And it's the same with spell work. So what I believe is that spell work is more so taking charge and becoming a dream maker of your own reality, rather than being dependent on a higher power and having strong faith. But the commonalities between the two, you have to believe in both of them, or at least one of them, whichever you want to work for you, right? Because believing is seeing. Both prayer and spells can be simple, or they can be elaborate. Spells, it's more so dependent on the strength and focus of your intention and how much energy you're putting into the spell. And I believe with prayer, it's similar because it's dependent upon how much faith you have that this prayer will work. I actually did hear recently, too, that I was reading a book. It was a tantric book, actually, and there was a point made in the back of the book by the author, which I thought was quite interesting that I wanted to share. And she pointed out that sex magic and prayer have a lot in common. And this could just be tied into spell work in general, but it was interesting because her point was that both of them can be used with the intent of sending healing to someone. Both connect to a higher power, and both influence an outcome. Which ties into just spells in general. Sprayers, I keep saying sprayers. But spells in general. But for those that have practiced sex magic, which I haven't really talked about much on my channel yet, there's a stronger manifestation behind it. More focused intention. Because sex energy is creation energy. And when we use that sexual energy as a manifestation technique, it's 1,000 times stronger. But anyways, that's a whole nother video. I'm not going to get into that right now. Thank you for watching this video if you made it all the way to the end. Let me know your beliefs, your thoughts and feelings on spells and or prayers. If you are a practicing magician, do you still pray? Do your prayers align with the spell work that you do? That's another good question to ask. So let me know in the comments if any of you have any experience with both, or if you've stopped praying after, not continuing a religious upbringing and just carried on with spell work. Do you believe one works greater than the other? Have you had experience with one working greater than the other? As always, guys, I hope everyone's February has been wonderful to you. So stay kind, stay curious, and until next time, peace.